Hey, I'm Jacqueline Snyder, and I'm the host of the Product Boss podcast. And this is a Dear Jacqueline episode, the place where I answer the questions you've been afraid to ask anyone else about your product business and the life you're actually trying to build around it. Today's episode is for the woman who has been quietly asking herself a question she's not sure she wants the answer to. What if she is not afraid of failing? What if she's actually afraid of succeeding? So in 20 years of doing this work with more than 100,000 women in product businesses, fear of success is one of the most common things I see, and almost no one will admit it out loud. And we're going to talk about why it's logical, why it shows up most for women who are closest to their next level, and what to actually do with this week. So let's get into it. Here's the question that came in. Dear Jacqueline, what if I'm not afraid of failing? What if I'm afraid of succeeding? So real quick before I answer this, if you want me to answer any of your questions, just go ahead and follow me on Instagram at The Product Boss and slip into my DMs with the words, Dear Jacqueline, and your question. I read every single one of them that comes in from people, and especially if you're following us and following the show, and the best ones become future episodes. Okay, so let's get back to the answer. First, I want you to hear that the fact that you're asking this question is by itself a big deal, because most women never even let themselves get this far. They stay parked in, I'm afraid of failing, which is socially acceptable, right? It's a socially acceptable fear. Now, the one we're allowed to admit, but guess what? The fear of success, nobody buys a journal about it. Nobody admits to it on Instagram. And yet, in my experience, it's one of the most accurate fears for a woman who has built something real. Or maybe you want to build something real, right? So once you know that you can do this, right? Or you've started doing it, the fear of failing might start to fade or be a little quieter. But what replaces it is the fear of what happens if you actually go all the way. So today we're going to talk about 3 things of why the fear of success is completely logical and why it shows up most for the women who are closest to hitting that next level. Here's the truth about success. The version of you who has the bigger business is not the same version of you sitting in your car right now listening to this podcast. She has a bigger life. She has a bigger team. She has bigger decisions to make and bigger numbers in her bank account, which means bigger taxes, bigger payroll, more responsibility, more visibility. Now, that future version of you has more people watching and more people who want a piece of maybe your time. There might be less anonymity, less of the comfort of, well, I'm just a small business, because she is not just a small business anymore. She's the CEO of something real. And listen, this fear of success happens when somebody gets their first $100,000, 250,000, 500, a million, 10 million, 100 million. Okay. Literally every stage has this. And here's the trade. The trade is that your nervous system knows it, right? It knows it's, so when you say, what if I'm afraid of succeeding? What you're actually saying is, what if I'm afraid of becoming someone I haven't met yet? And that's not weakness. That's intelligence. That's your body doing its job. It's protecting you from the version of your life it cannot yet picture, right? It can't see it clearly. Our bodies, our brains, it just tries to keep us safe from the past, but the future, the unknown, that's a little scary. So the work is not to override the fear. The work is to introduce yourself to the woman you're becoming slowly and on purpose. Which brings me to the second thing. Your business is your mirror. And so right now it's showing you something specific. It's showing you that you are capable of more, but you're not yet willing to hold more. So stay with me for a sec. Capability and willingness are not the same thing. You can be capable of running a multi-million-dollar business and still not be willing to take on what that requires. And that's the gap. The gap between what you can do and what you will do. And that's where the fear of success lives. And that gap shows up in your business as a ceiling. It's a limiting belief. You get close to the next level and something happens. a launch maybe underperforms, a team member quits, you accidentally miss a deadline. Maybe you take a week to email someone back that really needed the email the same day, and then the opportunity passes. So it's not bad luck. That's your nervous system pulling you back to the altitude you are willing to operate at. And once you can see that pattern, you can choose differently, right? My students and members of the collective, we talk about choice and we talk about who we choose to be every single day. And so every single time that this happens, you can just choose differently. Now, I want to give you something to actually do right now. I want to give you an exercise, and I call it the bigger you inventory. So all you have to do is get out a piece of paper and at the top, write this question. If I had the bigger business I actually want, what would actually be required of me? And I want you to make a list, not aspirational, just honest. What would you have to delegate? What would you have to charge? What would you have to be saying yes to and saying no to? What would you be tolerating? What time commitments would change? And what boundaries would you set with your family, with your customers, with your team? And what relationships might shift? And I want you to be specific. Don't write have a team, write manage 4 employees and make hiring and firing decisions I currently avoid. Don't write make more money, write send a $45,000 invoice and not feel guilty about it. Maybe it's even paying a $45,000 tax bill, whatever it ends up being, right? Then I want you to look at your list and at one item at a time and ask yourself this question. Am I willing? Not do I want to, right? Want is easy. Willing is the question. Anything you're not yet willing to do, that is your actual edge of the fear of success. And now you know where the work is. So I want to tell you about a client. She had about $150,000 business in revenue when we started working together. Okay. And it's obviously a really great real business. And she had real customers. She was selling to a really big box store around the country. And when she joined my world, she didn't tell me that she was afraid of success. She told me she wanted $1 million business, and she told me what she was committed to. She told me she would do the work, but every time we got close to her next level, every time she'd hit a month that put her on pace for 7 figures, something would happen, right? She would pull back. She'd need a week to think. She'd start a new product. She'd get distracted from the one that was already working. And on one of our calls, I asked her, what if you're not actually afraid of failing? What if you're afraid of succeeding? Then I asked her a question. What would a woman who's running a $2 million business be doing on a Tuesday morning? And is that the woman you've been training to become? And she got quiet. She cried a little. And then she said one thing. She said, you're right. Like the version of me in the future, the person who owns the $2 million business, she's not doing these things. She's not operating in this place. And guess what, guys? Like a year later, she messaged me and she had hit the $2 million. She told me, I knew you could help me with strategy, but what you actually helped me with was believing in what was possible and then choosing to be the woman who could hold it. She said, if this is possible for other people, then why not me? And so here's the thing. You have to be willing to go there. You have to be willing to shift your mindset. You have to be willing to fail forward and succeed forward and know that at every single step, you get to be supported and there's another business of unlock. And the way that you're running it right now is not the way you're going to run the $150,000 business to the $2 million business. So don't worry about it. You'll grow as your business grows. So if you take nothing else from today, take these 3 things. 1, fear of success is not weakness. It's intelligence, right? It's just your nervous system doing exactly what it's designed to do. Protect you from the version of your life that it cannot yet specifically see clearly. And the fact that you're feeling it means that you're actually close. 2, there's a difference between being capable of more and being willing to hold more. And that's the gap between those 2 things is where your ceiling lives. And it's where the work is, right? Now we've identified it. You know where the work is. And 3, you're not stuck. You're just at an edge. The same edge that thousands of women before you have stood at and walked through. And the question is not whether you can, the question is whether you will. And if you're listening to the show, you will. I know it. You're here. We're here to support you. So here's what you're going to do this week. You're going to do the bigger you inventory. Write down what would actually be required of you if you had the bigger business. And I want you to be specific and honest. And then look at that list and ask yourself, which items are you willing to do and which are you still at your edge? And that list is your roadmap. Every item you mark willing is something you can move towards this quarter. Every item you mark not yet is where the belief work is. And that's how you turn fear of success into a strategy. So 2 quick things before you go. 1, every single week, I host a free training called the How to Scale Your Product Business Past and to $1 million without becoming the bottleneck. And I'll walk you through the strategy and the belief systems and the next move all in one session. It's the same place that I'd start you with if you were a brand new client of mine. So go to theproductbossworkshops.com and you can also click the link in the show note to grab your seat. And if you're past the workshop phase and you're ready to actually sit down and talk about where you're at, where you're stuck, and where you want to go, you can book a free 1-hour call with one of my product business growth advisors, and we'll walk you through your business, name the actual edge, and figure out what your next move should be. So all you have to do there is go to theproductboss.com/book a call. Again, made it super easy for you. All the links are in the show notes. Okay, my friends, same place, same time next week. Keep growing your business, and I cannot wait to get your Dear Jacqueline requests. All right, friends, see you later.